Thank you, Godwin and Ahina, for the Sports Summit. And yes, the job is still not done yet, but I trust the Super Eagles, especially with Osimhen leading the line. I know somebody is excited in the studio at the mention of that name, but welcome back to the studios of Weekend Deal. It's always a pleasure to be with you this morning. And of course, you know what will be trending in the papers this morning. It's totally connected to the reshufflement we have in the appointment, or rather the new service chiefs. And we start with Saturday Vanguard. This one says that Tinubu reshuffles service chiefs, appoints Oluyede as defense chief, Vice Marshal S.K. Aneke, Chief of Air Staff, Rear Admiral I. Abbas, Chief of Naval Staff. All right, so you see their pictures there. Below that, we have World Bank meetings. The IMF warns Nigeria of debt, oil revenue risks. Notes reform gains fears. Elumelu urges AI revolution for Africa's growth. Now to Saturday Sun. Leading straight to the head, the leading story, going straight to the head, the leading story, why Tinubu sacked service chiefs, how new CDI survived, meet new Army, Air Force, Naval bosses, but to lead National Committee to revamp security training institutions. Wike opens up on Jonathan Nnamdi Kanu mocks Diri. It has some riders here. It gives conditions to appear in court as witness for IPOB leader. Describes Bayelsa governor's defection to APC as shameful. Details of that are on page 25. Now to Weekend Trust. Below the masthead, we have stories of children suffering from malnutrition. Details of that on page 28. Now the leading story says Tinubu appoints new service chiefs. Details of that can be found on page 4. Now meet the man who may be PDP chairman, and that is of course the former Minister of Special Duties, Kabir Tanimu Turaki. Okay, crumbling love stories of Nigerian celebrities. Crumbling love stories, and then we're talking about office.
What a coincidence.
All right, so to the weekend leadership. Or rather, leadership weekend, over 50 generals to go as Tinubu sacks service chiefs. Okay, that's another consequences of that, decision. Names Oluyede, Chief of Defense Staff, asks fresh service chiefs to justify appointments, and of course that is what most Nigerians will be looking at for, that these changes being made will be very, very impactful. Now, Saturday Telegraph. Just above the masthead, it's a bit of a sad story there. Niger tanker explosion, victims' relatives, survivors recount horrendous tales. I lost 8 members of my family, 10 others in critical condition. Resident. Details of that on page 8. And oftentimes the NEMA or the concerned authorities have put out these commercials there. This sensitization messages are out there to say that whenever there is a challenge like this, don't go near the tanker. Stay as far as you can. Stay away from it, and because the result is always the same.
It's terrible.
Explosion, death, injuries. It's unfortunate there.
It's poverty.
Sounds divided over shifting of election-proof burden to INEC. It will be ridiculous for such to be considered, says Ogala. It has some riders there. Military shake-up, not confirmation of coup, says presidency. Details of that can be found on page 3. Now, the nation seems to be very busy with series of headlines. A week to PDP governance. Sidelining me will bury party, says Jonathan hasn't informed him about running in 2027. Details of that can be found on page 6. Now, Nigeria's exit from Financial Action Task Force excites President. Organization hails Tinubu's political will. Reforms, details of that can be found on page 3. Now, Tinubu to new service chiefs. Be vigilant, unite armed forces. Names Oluede, of course, we know the names of the new service chiefs appointed. Now, court threatens to make necessary orders as Kanu's defense stalls. IPOB leader says his witnesses coming from UK, US, Kenya, others. Zulum raises the alarm over use of drones by Boko Haram. Use of drones by Boko Haram. Of course, the new services definitely have a huge task to, bring this lasting solution to the security challenges we're being faced with right now in the country.
Like our EDP will say, they have their work cut out for them.
Yes.